Hi everyone, and welcome to the first of many lockdown interviews with fitness professionals. And I am happy to be joined today by the awesome Caroline Newman, aka the Dance Lady. How are you, Caroline?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, dancing. Keep dancing.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed today. It's very much an informal chat, and just really want to talk about your backgrounds and your experiences during lockdown, really. So, could you tell people how you got started and what your specialism is, please?
Okay, cool. So at school, I was the classic sport Billy. I was good at sport. I was good at sport and I was good at kissing boys. Um, and I was very, very lucky in the fact that I had a PE teacher that could see I shone. Academically, I was really poor. I was in the remedial classes. I don't think they call them remedials now. And basically, they never really knew what to do with us. So we used to have a long stick thing with a wheel, and we used to measure the playground. And God knows why we always had that, because I've never ever used or seen one of those ever in action. But luckily enough, I had a PE teacher that could see that what I was about, and he really encouraged me and kept me going. And I was very, very lucky. Only about 5 years ago, I was sat outside of school about to go in to teach, and that voice came to your head. So you remember there's always a teacher that you can remember. I heard him on the playground, and I was then instantly reported back to 1987. And I saw him, and he was teaching rounders to a load of year six, and it was total imagery in the fact that half of them were disengaged and all the rest of it. And he's doing his best to keep them up, because he was a cover teacher then, you see. And the kids knew me. They're going, "Oh, dance lady." I'm like, "Shh." And I got in the queue for the batting. And as he turned around, there I was with the bat in my hand. And he went, "Ellsbury," because that was my maiden name. And it was like just going back. And so if it hadn't been for Mr. Pete Webb, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Oh, that's such a lovely story. And
Yeah.
I think, you have that one pivotal adult that's not related to you that can come into your life and either be a positive or a negative
Yeah.
influence on you. Because I remember teachers at school where I just hated them. And then I remember having like the key teachers that actually took the time to get to know you and find out, what your triggers, what your positive triggers were.
Yeah.
PE wasn't one of mine, and I ended up in the fitness industry. French was mine.
Oh.
Yeah, randomly French was mine. So obviously we know each other and I know what you do, but can you tell either our listeners, if they listen to us on the podcast or watching the video, why you're called the Dance Lady?
So I bounced around in the new normal sort of way of getting into fitness industry, working in various gyms and chains. Started off as a lifeguard, all that sort of stuff, and then got to a point. I was working with DC Leisure then. I don't know who they are now, but I thought, no, I'm just not. I don't want to be just operating the pool and putting badminton nets up and stuff like that. I had an interest in dance and movement, although I've never actually formally trained. So I'm not ballet trained or tap trained or anything like that. But I'm just really good at engaging people into movement. A job came up in my local school for a school sports partnership dance development. Now, unfortunately, those sort of things gone now, the government funding. But basically, it was a job to go around to schools and encourage kids to do fitness, PE, and dance. So I thought, well, I'm going to go for this. And luckily enough, I got the job. And that's where it became. So that job role, I went into, in my area of Wiltshire, we have about 70 schools that I was to work in and do just different sessions, that sort of thing. But unfortunately, the funding for that went in 2012. And 2011 it came through. I found out I was pregnant and redundant on the same day.
Ooh.
Yeah. So what do you do, Mel? What do our listeners do? You just get on with it, don't you? I had no option. I had no choice. At then there was no funding for those sort of jobs coming in. So for the first 6 months of being on maternity leave with my little boy, I invented me as a dance lady. And the dance lady has come from, when I go into the schools, often they can't remember your name, but they recognize you as, you're the woman that does the dance. And then there's usually a euphoria. She's here, everyone. It's okay. The dance lady's here. We can relax. The kids are going to be entertained for an hour. And so that's where dance ladies come. So I was really lucky. I never had to work on branding or a name or anything like that. It was already there for me, but obviously I've just developed that as I've gone along. So yeah, and then so that's me. 2012 I started. What we now 2020.
Wow, that's such a lovely story. But I could definitely resonate with that. I mean, I've gone to my children's school and been screamed at across the playground. You're the beats lady. So I can definitely relate to that. But we must be doing something right if that's what's getting screamed at us. And let's face it, that's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And it works. It just works. So everyone knows what I'm there for. The kids know what I'm there for. And obviously I've got branded t-shirts. So then as soon as they see me, they've got an expectation of what they're doing. And even the ones that go, oh, I don't do dance, as you often meet, it's very easy to just turn those kids around, and they might not love your sessions, but they're definitely engaged. And I can honestly say I've got every single child that I've ever worked with to engage in some way.
That's awesome. I remember going into senior schools and teaching Zumba, and you'd always get the girls at the back that were just like, oh.
I love those girls.
Oh. So I always used to throw in some kind of either latest pop song or some kind of really like funky track where as hard as they might try, they couldn't help but move to it. And then they'd get used to me. So they'd be like, miss, can we have that one?
Right. Well, my last session on a Friday at the moment is year 10 girls. I'm really lucky. I've got some girls that we've just worked through the last term, so last 6 weeks. And now they've got to choose. So we had about 40 of them all try and turn up on Tuesday, which we had to limit the numbers. But on one of those, I did have one group, and they were the, I'm going to put it like the non-doers. They're just not interested in moving and stuff like that. And it was a real mixture of complete non-doers, some heavily made up ones, some of them it's quite sad. They've got so many issues going on that teenagers these days are made to grow up so quickly, and they've got so much going on. And so there's me coming in like Tigger, all like, yay, come on, let's do this. And I had that sort of like really kind of back row, but beautifully. And this only happened last week. One of the girls came up to me and she went, oh, hi, miss. Don't worry about me today. I've got periods, so I'm not really feeling like it, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. And for that,
that's big.
You've done it. You've made it then, because you taught them for the last 6 weeks. Come on, let's just do it. Let's just do it.
I think that's amazing to be able to get through to children. And I definitely agree. They are made to grow up so quickly. I almost go out of my way to make sure that my children don't have access to certain things like social media and things like that, to try and keep them young, if that makes sense, because I think it's a lot harder now. I think there's far more distractions, and I think there's a lot more pressure than there was when we were kids, like it was open the front door, come back when it goes dark kind of job,
Yeah.
So we know about your background now, and we know that your specialism is working with children. Correct me if I'm wrong. So really, like, referring to lockdown now, so how did you cope? So just talk me through how you dealt with realizing that life wasn't going to be the same once we were told, we had to close or things were going to change drastically.
So I've got a bit of a double whammy. Unfortunately, my husband's going through huge mental health issues at the moment, and has been now in a mobility scooter. And this is a guy who was riding Harley Davidsons a couple of years ago. So lockdown came for us a little bit earlier because we had to shield for his health. And so lockdown has been hard. However, I am so lucky in the place that I live. I am one of those annoying mothers that we have 3 different types of bikes, so we can go out on various bikes. We have a dog. We've got plenty of access to walk. I'm very much into nature and so on. So it's nothing for my son to be dragged out onto a hill somewhere so we can identify butterflies and stuff like that. And I'm sounding very sort of Enid Blyton, but for me, that's what worked very much for us. We had a structure, and again, I suppose I'm lucky. I've only got one little man, but we had a structure. We still did school day. Maths, I completely left. I got a tutor in for maths because I liked the first lot of questions and burst into tears. So that wasn't going to happen for us. So we had a maths tutor. But everything else, we just tried to keep activity involved in our day. So we did times tables outside. We did spelling outside. And like I said, we were always out and about. So if we went out on a bike ride, I remember one day back when we had the really lovely weather, my little man did 16 miles on his mountain bike across the top ridge, and it's a Roman road as well. So we learned about the Roman road as we went round, and those sort of things. I'm very lucky that we're always going to be able to remember that. But I'm very much aware that, like I said, I am in a bit of an Enid Blyton lifestyle, and it was so hard for lots of people that didn't have those opportunities. But interestingly, what I would say, and this is something that my little man invented, he invented the word outsiding. And I wrote it down straight away. He said to me one day, only about 2 weeks ago, he said, "Oh, what are we doing which is outsiding today?" And it occurred to me that I've brought him up to always expect to be outside and doing something outsiding at least once a day. He loves it if we get a full-on rainy day like we just had it this weekend, full-on rain for 24 hours, because then he knows he can possibly play on his PlayStation all day. But if the weather is dry or it's sunny, he knows he's outside and he's outsiding. So I think if you start to have that just in your daily routine, in your daily life, and you've got that in your head, then it just goes down. So like I said, unfortunately, my husband's not very well. So now our outsiding also involves Ted on his scooter and my husband on his mobility scooter, which is a heart-wrenching thing to do, but we have to do it. That's how we're going to have to get through it, and that's what we'll do.
Wow, you are an amazing woman, I have to say, definitely, that you're still able to do that. I think you are.
No, I don't think it is. You just have to get on with it. No one's in some ways going to help you out of whatever situations you are, apart from yourself. And I'm very lucky as well, because although I majority work with kids, I love working with kids because they are in the moment. They don't care if you've had a shitty day, or also probably not supposed to swear.
It's okay.
or you've just had to have a long debate with someone at your local hospital surgery because they give you a certain medication or whatever it might be. Kids don't care about that. All they want to know is if you're going to play I like to move it, because that's what you play. So I think it's that helps very much so. And then also one of the classes I teach is for what I call my mature adults. They're not mature at all. They're all in their 70s, but they're most immature people I know. And they all too have all gone through things in their life. Many of them were wartime babies, that kind of thing. And they've been there and done it. And, although we are all now going through something, they've all been there and done it. And it's experience. Just get on with it.
I think that I know that you say that you're lucky, but you must have a certain kind of mindset to be able to carry on and do that, because I know that there are people that haven't for whatever reason or feel like they can't. And I think by listening to your story, maybe it can help to put things into perspective for some people that during this lockdown or this time that we're going through right now, we need to focus on what it is that we can control and not stress about the things that we can't, because there's a lot that we can't do, but there's a hell of a lot more that we can,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think on that point, what you can't control and negative energy. If there's something that's negative, I can't deal with that. So I have to remove myself from that situation. So yeah.
I think that's good advice. So how did you differ? How did things differ for you? when you had to, did you have to go online
Yeah,
with
yeah,
your
yeah.
classes? Mhm.
So my schools haven't been online, although coming now into the second lockdown, I think, yeah, we are going to be doing more stuff online. So most of my schools, so 80% of my work is physically delivering in schools. So that went overnight, as it did for everyone. I've been lucky because I've been able to benefit from the government funding. So that's been really good. I then started PE at 3, with the view that you were doing your schooling in the day, and then at 3 o'clock I'd come on and do some PE kind of venture. But some other bloke called Joe Wicks, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, he was also copying my idea and doing the same thing. It's not PE. Sorry, that's my Joe Wicks thing. But to be fair, the PE at 3 that I was doing, it worked really well. I was going on Facebook and I was doing more things like what my son and I were doing, times tables through hopscotch, and little mini circuits, and scavenger hunts and hula, all that sort of stuff that we were doing. So we're doing that as PE at 3, and that was working quite well. But as we all saw, people got Zoom screen overload, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
That was hard. Before the lockdown, I used to do lots of kids' parties at the weekends. I did a couple of kids' parties that worked well, but most of them, kids don't want to do a party online.
No, of course they don't. They want, that interaction that you can only generate through being in a room with people. And I get that. I had to change my timetable because some of the classes that I was delivering online are just meant for in a room, in a physical environment. And I explained that to my students, and so I very much had to diversify. So bringing this to a close now, though I could definitely talk for much longer. I just wanted to know if you could give a couple of tips. One, maybe for families that are looking for more activities to do with their children, or just to come up with any kind of activity, and one for fitness professionals, really. And it doesn't have to be fitness professionals that teach children. It could literally just be just some guidance, which I think you've already given, but I'd love for you to repeat again.
So for both family and fitness instructors and so forth, it's got to be about play. Make it fun. So if you're doing any kind of activity, just make it fun. Have that fun element in it. It doesn't need to be necessarily fitness related, as long as it's movement related, as long as we're getting the kids up, moving, and outsiding, as Ted termed. So something like that. For your families, I get it. It's very hard sometimes when you've got a disengaged person. So it's stupid little things like making someone in charge, making one of the kids in charge of the family fitness. If they like doing graphs and charts, right, Tuesday we're going skipping, Wednesday we're walking to school, get them doing that. So all little things like that will help. And then if it just becomes part of your routine, if that's what you do every day, then that's what will happen.
I think that's great advice, and I've loved listening to you, and thank you for taking the time to speak to me today. So if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
All they've got to do is put the dance lady in and I appear. I'm so lucky like that. Yeah, dance lady. So dance lady on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So I have a group that if you are a fitness instructor who specialises in working with kids or young people, then I've got a group of about over 1,000 people. It's quite interesting. We've got lots of little different comments and people swapping ideas. So that works really well. So yeah, put in Caroline Dance Lady and I will appear.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time, Caroline.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.